this thing, Stacy will always have a position here. So Stacy, without further ado, we love you. You're the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Hey, can we stand to our feet and acknowledge, she is a warrior. Love you. I don't know. This one good. Yeah.
Test.
There you go.
Thank you, Trey. Yes, that is true, and I'm super sad because I really thought I was going to be here the rest of my life. So I'm trying to find ways to still stay connected, coming up with ideas so I can still be a part of Good Landing because it is a hard transition just because I don't want to leave, But I'll get to the end of that and what came about and all that. But before I do that, I just want to kind of skim over what got me to Good Landing in the first place. So at 40 years old, I decided to go ahead and try this thing again. And by this time, we are talking 10 treatment centers in. I've been to prison before. I have been to jail 15 times. I was in drug court, so I got locked up a lot while I was in drug court because I was doing synthetic stuff in drug court and thinking I could get away with it. And anyways, long story. So 40 years old, I was shooting up fentanyl and heroin and methamphetamines and really had lost myself. I didn't care. I had a boyfriend at the time who I was 5 years deep in with, and drugs wasn't a problem for us to get. Had unlimited supply, still had to hustle to get it, but it wasn't something where I had to quit, But earlier in 2021, I had a moment of time where I knew that I was just using to get by. I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I was just, I would use maybe one time a day because I was just so tired. And at this point, my son was going to be a senior in high school, and he is my one and only. And so obviously, if you have children, you know how special they are to you. And I could go on and on about this kid, but I'll save y'all some time. But I am so surprised he has ended up the way he has. His dad wasn't a good person in addiction. I wasn't a good person in addiction. And how I got a good child out of it, I don't know. But I am super thankful for him because ultimately he saved my life. And I remember going home one day and trying to hug him, and he backed away from me and wouldn't give me the time of day. And I broke. I was like, this is awful. This is a horrible feeling to be able to walk up to someone you've birthed and they don't even want nothing to do with you. So I'd had enough, and I needed to do something different. And in 2021, we didn't have a little thing called Hope Dealers, right? Or I didn't know about Hope Dealers. Good Landing didn't know about any of that, right? So trying to get into treatment, let alone detox, was super tough. Here again, asking family, mom and dad, who, by the way, shout out to my mom and dad. They have been married 1 years. So I come from a good breed. I have put them through the ringer, but at the end of the day, they love me so much and would do anything to save my life, and I begged on my knees to send me to detox. So cash pay all the way around, money that they did not have, all went on credit cards, so a total of probably 10 grand total to put me through treatment. And if you were to ask my mom today about that money, it's the best money she's ever spent because it ultimately saved my life. So after detox, I went to Sunrise. I stayed there for 7 days. I got out of Sunrise and didn't have a plan. Was going to go back home like I'd always did, and I had a God moment where I was on my back porch and something washed over me and said, Stacy, you got to do something different. So I reached out to a longtime friend named Rush Jolly, who connected me to Good Landing. And by the way, I've lived in Gwinnett County my whole entire life at this point and had never heard of Good Landing. So, we discussed everything, kind of got me a small discount. I went, he said, go watch the video that's on there and get back to me. And so I went and I watched the initial video, the old school video that Trey has on there. And I needed every part of Good Landing, the medical, the clinical, everything that they were saying they offered. I was like, this is where I want to go. So we worked everything out. I arrived on a Wednesday. It was all staff day. And the only really thing I remember about my first day was going in Trey's office because he happened to be there that day. And he told me he was 1 year older than me. And I was like, yes. I thought I was the oldest gal on the block coming into treatment. But anyways, I also had a lot of shame and guilt and embarrassment because here I am, and I thought nobody else was like me due to my outer appearance. I had scars all over my arms. I had welts at that time. I shared with the ladies today, showed them, it wasn't anything to play around with. And I had to let it go. I couldn't sit there and reminisce on the way I looked and the way my arms looked and people judging me. I had to dive into this and figure it out. I had never been to a faith-based treatment before. They were all NA and AA based, and shout out to them, not dogging them, but they didn't work. And I love it when clients tell me, I want to go back to this program because we go to meetings. And I'm like, if those programs worked, you wouldn't be here, right? So give us a chance. Give us a chance. And I would have been sober a long time ago if they would have worked, right? And I'm not saying they don't, but if I don't understand who God is, there's no way I can go and do those steps, right? So anyways, navigating Good Landing was so important to me to get it this time. I didn't care about the drama that was going on, didn't care about who was on the other side of the fence. I just had to get this. And I jumped in where I could to help other people. That meant a lot to me to be able to tell my story to people because I thought I was alone and I was the worst client, and come to find out I wasn't. We're all the same. I'm no better than anybody else. And that's what I tell a lot of the girls, I'm no better than you. I could snap my fingers and be right there with you in a heartbeat. So I just, dove in the program. I think the biggest thing that helped me while I was at Good Landing was therapy. Day one, I dived into, just laid it out, my whole life to the therapist. We were able to work on those things. Shame and guilt was the two things that ate me alive in addiction, and so that's why I stayed using as long as I did. So after that, graduated, and then I was offered to be on staff, and I didn't raise my hand up for it. They were just like, hey, you would make a great staff member. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. So, I've been through every department that we have at Good Landing. And I really wanted more. If I was in one area, I wanted to learn about admissions, and I wanted to do case management, and I wanted to do all of it because I wanted to learn the whole thing. And when the director before me left, I guess I was spoken up to give the position to. If you would have told me in 2021 that I would have been the director or the women's program for Good Landing Recovery, I would have laughed and told you you're crazy, right? But I was so thankful because it gave me purpose. It gave me something else to put on my resume because I've been in addiction for so long. I honestly really never thought I would leave Good Landing. When you ride on these streets every single day and you pass by all the parking lots that you've used in, there is no other way someone could do that without the strength and help of God. And is crazy to me because I'd point them out at first to people as we drive by, and then I thought to myself, that's crazy. You know, like, who cares? You know, that doesn't make me look cool because I used over here or used over there, but it does say something about where you can get sober in this county that you grew up in, and you do not, I don't have any triggers, I don't have any wants to do it. I absolutely hate that lifestyle. And you'll find out as you get clean and sober, like, people start watching you, right, from afar. And you never know whose life you're going to impact. And I've seen people that I've used with come through here. I've seen my dealers come through here. And it is, you know, whether they do good or not, like, I'm so thankful that there's a place that they can come to as well to get clean and sober. So good landing is so important to me. I guess 3 years ago, so I'll have 5 years this year in July. And I know, can't believe it. Time flies. About 3 years ago, I reconnected with my high school sweetheart. He hit me up and was like, I've seen the Lord all over you. This is how the Lord changed my life. We got on God, and it was a wrap from then. So he is in the Air Force, so I'm about to go live this military life, and I pray that it goes well. But I sat still, and the Lord put people in my past that I'm super grateful for. I never thought that I would be leaving Good Landing this early, ever, because I told Trey a long time ago that I would be with him for life. But I am finding ways to stay within Good Landing from afar. So coming up with some good ideas. But one thing I can say is that, you know, the women's program has always been special to me. And there was a period of time where, like, I wouldn't have left. But I want to just say real quick that I don't know if Charlene's in here right now, but there isn't anyone better to hand off this program to than Charlene. Like, let's give her a shout out. Charlene, we're talking about you. Yes, so I used to be fearful of, like, who is going to take this program over, because, you know, it's not an easy task, right? But I feel super confident, and I'm so thankful as someone like her that is taking over this program, because she is freaking a rock star, right? And for someone who has never struggled like us, but has been touched by addiction in her own personal life, like, she is a rock star for this program. And I am just, it's only God who could have sent her to do this. So I do want to give Charlene a shout out. And then, you know, last but not least, I love Trey, you guys. I am very protective of Trey. So I'll tell you a little funny story. A couple of years ago, right, we had a few people who would, you know, say some things about Trey that were, you know, very not ladylike. And one day I just got up in their face and I'm like, hey, he's married, he has kids, like, leave him alone. You know, we're not here for that. And I had to do that a lot. And so I kind of became this, like, protector of Trey and not wanting, you know, people to say stuff about him. Because deep down inside, I know the man he is. I have seen him as a man with his kids, with his family, and he loves hard. And one thing that I have taken away from him that I have to work on every single day is the way he can forgive people. He has been burnt to the core before. And a year later or so, you hear him talking that he's talked to the person. I'm like, what? Why? You know? And I'm like, never would I talk to that person. But it has opened my eyes to show, like, I just admire that about Trey. He can forgive people like no other. And if it wasn't for him opening Good Landing, I look at my life and, like, where would I be? Like, yeah, I would probably be dead by now. This stuff's getting so scary out there and dangerous. And so I'm so thankful he opened Good Landing. Like, I really am. And I have just been truly honored to be on his team, on his side. I know if there's anything I ever need, he'll come to my rescue. And, you know, I hate leaving. He thinks someone come back quickly. And he might be right. But anyways, I'm not going to wish that, but I do want to just shout out to him for all he's done for me, for the opportunities he's given me. I would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for him and God and my family and my son. And one other thing I meant to say, I was going to tell the ladies this story today because the power of God and Jesus is so real, but you know, when you start praying and praying and praying for things and you don't see anything from it, you can get kind of discouraged, right? And so I told y'all about my son who I just had a horrible relationship with, especially like the last 5 years of me using. So you got to think he was in the 8th grade at this time, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, going into the senior year, and I finally get sober. Those were some crucial times to be gone from him. But anyways, just day and night, I kept praying for restoration, forgiveness, and all of that through him. And I didn't think it was ever going to come, right? But I was adamant, waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, going on the porch, having my prayer time, and sending him a message, just telling him I loved him and I missed him and I hope he had a great day. And so I was desperate. I was desperate just to get some kind of sign that we were okay or we were going to work through things. So 8 months in of being sober, again, 8 months in of constant prayer, he called me at 10:30 at night from Walmart with his cousins, and he said, "Hold on, Mom, I'm going to go to this aisle because, you know, I don't want them to hear me. He has to be cool." And he said, so I waited. And he said, "I just want you to know that I love you and I am so proud of you and I forgive you for everything that you've ever done." And that moment was everything to me because that's exactly what I kept praying to God for. So if you have children, just know there is hope. If you have young children, please get it now, because when they're older, it's so much harder. And one thing about it, and two things for sure, they love their parents, whether you're a mom or a dad. But with a lot of times with kids, they think it's their fault. And he told me that. He thought it was his fault that I was the way I was. And that's heartbreaking. Like, you don't ever want your selfishness to them to think that it was their fault, right? But I tell that story to give you guys hope, to know that, like, if you're struggling about your kids, just give it time. It's not on our time, okay? It is on God's time. It will happen. You have to claim that. And the other thing is worship. Today, I'm really proud of the ladies. Y'all were all standing. We had a conversation about it during group. Today when I taught group, but even if you don't understand the hand raising or all that, because I didn't, I grew up Baptist, so all that was weird to me, right? And then I remember I came to Good Landing and we went to Gate City when it used to be the old Gate City back there, and people were doing all, you know, the jumping and the raise handing and all that, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try it. And when you feel that spirit come through you, it is like no other. It really is. And who cares what people think about you doing that, right? No. When you start speaking those words to worship song over yourself and your life, you will change. And it takes time, right? And I'm so grateful that I hate that old lifestyle and that I'm a new creation in Christ. And I will forever praise him for everything. So, Trey, I don't know if you want me to speak longer, but I can. But anyways, thank you guys. I am always praying for y'all and for you guys, and I love you so much. And y'all be praying for me. And Trey's my favorite person in the whole world.
Love you so much.
I love you too.
Great job.